Please, photographers could finish their work and sit down. Well, good morning, everyone. We have the pleasure of presenting the film La Abuela, the Grandmother, that competes in the official section of the 69th San Sebastian International Film Festival. We have with us Paco Plaza, the director, Carlos Bermud, who is the scriptwriter, Enrique López Laviña, who's the producer, and the both actresses are Vera Valdez and Almudena Amor. And as you know, you can raise your hands. I'd like to start the press conference by saying the following. This for Paco and Carlos. It's quite curious that we have a film which is so personal for both of you, or at least it seems to me, where one plays the role of the scriptwriter and the other one plays the director. How did this process and where did the idea emerge from? How you developed it, and who's the heart and who's the soul of the film? Hi, good morning, everyone. Well, basically, the film starts from an idea that I had, which I wasn't getting the script right. Carlos and I, who are very good friends, and we eat every day, and we go together to the Sitges Film Festival. We like horror films. We're very fans of them, and a bit more dissimulated, and he's more undercover, but he's a freak of terror as well as I am. But anyways, I found that I couldn't find the right slant to the script. And one of those lunches, Carlos offered to give me a hand and to do a version of the script and to see whether he could direct the storyline better. And it was an act of love and friendship and generosity, because to have someone with that talent who can make a tailor-made suit for you, making a film that he's not going to direct, and it was a luxury for me, and I'm very, very eternally thankful for it to him. I'm very thankful as well. Yes, above all, I am. I obviously like horror films. It's a genre that I love, and I always played more or less in a dissimulated way in my film, but a pure terror, supernatural film I'd never been able to make. And having the opportunity, you gave me the opportunity, because the truth is you gave me the opportunity, but to put your trust in me to do the script, I'm going to be able to play without having limit myself to the corset of reality and say, well, that's whatever happens is going to be whatever happens in the script and in the film. And that's the way it emerged, and that's the way it was a beautiful process. And I feel that it was a beautiful process. Okay. Hi, good morning. Congratulations for the film. I loved it quite a lot. Please, seeing the film, perhaps I might be saying something stupid or foolish here, but to me, it took me back to Italian horror films. I'm not too sure whether you had any type of references as regards the film. And then I imagine that the question everyone will ask themselves, how did you find the grandmother with Vera Valdez? Thank you. I think that it's inevitable. I think that when you try to express yourself through a film, whoever you are is almost always constructed upon stories they've told you, films you've seen, those things that you fall in love with. I think if films construct us and make us be who we are, in this case, Mario Bava, Dario Argento, Maximo de la Mano, for example, these are directors, and these are leading directors for me, and it's inevitable that sometimes that those traits appear on the screen in the film. And as regards discovering, quote-unquote, of Vera, who a very quote-unquote discovery, we were quite fortunate that Arantxa Vele, the casting director, who's a person who's always very active, and I've worked with her for 3 or 4 films, and I like the way she approaches the construction of the cast in the film, because she doesn't never fall into what is conventional. She discovered, I'm not too sure, I'm not saying anything interesting, Vera, I'll tell you later. She showed me a video dance of a Brazilian group where she's laughing because I said, what's he saying? What, dancing? No, maybe it wasn't me. Yes, it was her. And so therefore, through getting in touch with Vera, who really enthralled me, I said, we've got to bring her from Brazil, whichever way possible. That's when we started to discover the myth, this mythological being that we've got here on my right. And we understood her story in Paris in a period which was very brilliant of films, a brilliant period of films at that time. And I think that what I felt seeing Vera in that video dance was a presence and a charisma that really overtook me, and I had the feeling that all the audience would share that fascination by her look, her physique, the way she is, because she's like a Rolling Stone incarnated in a Venus, the Venus of Keith Richards, could say. But she doesn't agree with me too much because she doesn't understand me. I can say whatever I want, and I was fascinated. And I thought that everyone who could see the film, that fascinating presence of this icon. Do you agree? Does the actress want to say something? Good afternoon. Hello. So I'm going to speak in French. I made a film, but I haven't seen it. I'm going to see it this evening with all of you. And I'm very happy to be here. Yes, I'm very happy to be here. And that you're here as well. Thank you very much for being here. We're very happy as well. Thank you. It was a mystery for me. Like I say, I haven't seen the film. I did the film with him. But like I say, I made the film, but I haven't seen it yet. But for me, it'll be a surprise. And it's going to kill me because I'm going to be frightened to death. But, I'll have these two beside me, so I won't be worried. The audience is the most important thing. The audience is the most important thing for me. It is the most important thing. That the audience feels all of those things as regards to me and can see with me and feel the best thing of all, that is to say. And I hope that everyone has a good time. That's what I think. She said two very simple things. I'm not going to translate it because you heard it. Is that I made the film. It seems stupid, but having made this film, the way we've made it, in the times that we've made it in, with the third or fourth week, the film was cancelled. The truth was terrifying. When it says I was afraid, we were really fearful, and throughout the process of producing the film and shooting the film. Because the truth is, we were confronting something that was unbeknownst to us, that we've all suffered and lived subsequently, or lived through poorly. And she did it at a distance because we sent her to an apartment in Paris, thinking that she was going to be a much more friendlier lockdown than in Spain, but we made a mistake again. Then she had to go back to one of the most affected countries by the pandemic, which is Brazil, because she's from Sao Paulo. So for the truth be said, to not know whether we could finish the film, I think is one of the greatest, most difficult situations that the producers can face. Mercedes Garmedo, Silvia Pilar, I want to thank them, who have come from Madrid and Paris, first of all, to help us and to help us to finish the film. And I can assure you that what we've lived through it all together. But even in the shooting of the film, it was quite difficult, and I think it was one of the first shoots that were affected by COVID, when we didn't even know what were the symptoms in the month of February. And the truth be said, that situation is something that Vera has suffered especially, and we have along with her. Hi, I have a moment ago you've talked about references. You've mentioned Mario Baba, but when I see the film and I see the link of the vital breath, the life breath which goes, I remember the I Force by Tom Hooper. I don't know whether it's an unconscious reference or whether it was in your mind. No, specifically not Life Force. Tom Cooper, for example, obviously he's a director. He's a leading director from my point of view, but that specific moment when the life force goes from one to the other, it was inspired. We needed to find a way to express that the soul, not a spoiler, but you've already seen it, it's not a spoiler what I'm saying, that the soul of a person can be transferred and generate this game. And we wanted the soul of Vera to get into the body of Susanna, which is portrayed by Almudena. And it's a matryoshka, because the outside is what you can, and is outside, but inside, this is all of the women that have contained and that body, and there's an accumulation of souls or spirits within that, because this reflects what we all are. Inside, we have our parents, our ancestors. When you get up and you say something, it's as if it was my father was saying this, and this has happened for many generations. Everyone who's come before us, it's what I wanted to express with this moment. Hi, congratulations for the film. My question is to both actresses, Vera and Almudena, and I would like to ask you, Vera has a trajectory, an enormous trajectory behind her, and you, Almudena, is starting, so to speak. I'd like to ask you, in that, when you were shooting, when you shared that time, when you were shooting the film, this tandem that you have together, what do you think each of you learned from each other? Everything. I'm Brazilian, and for me, I was called from Brazil to do a film. I didn't know why. I've seen a film, a Paraguayan film called The Last Land, La Última Tierra, which was a film which was quite impressive and very beautiful. And that's where I understood what I've seen and why he wanted me to come along on the project. I think it was marvelous. He's a director, an extraordinary director, very relaxed, very loving, and a very beautiful person. With Vera, what I learned was to express myself better. What I most learned about her was her strength, because I admire that after everything she's lived through, she wants to continue to live adventures in a very complicated period. She came all the way to Spain to shoot a film, and at no time she gave in. Did she give in? That is, I say, the truth is, there are many qualities that Vera has that I'd like to have when I'm her age, but I believe that she has an incredible strength behind her, and that's what I take home with me, having worked with her. Hi, good morning. Irene Abetia from Cinema Gavia. Congratulations, because you've managed to give me big goosebumps watching the film. The truth is, I didn't know that it was this genre of film, so therefore I was pleasantly surprised. And what surprised me very much has been I'm within her, because the other day when I saw her in The Good Boss, she's completely different, completely different character, and therefore I'd like to ask you, what have you done to change that register? Were you afraid did you believe it, what you were shooting and what you were portraying at that time? Well, what I did to change characters has been obviously work and perform my role. And then as regards, the good thing is that both characters are quite different. And in this case, as it's a horror, but I wasn't afraid, but my body did. I work a lot in horror from the body, from what's sensorial. And so therefore there was something, albeit I knew I was performing my role. When I came at home, my body had lived through all of that experience. So there I needed some time to come back to let go of everything, all of those feelings. But the film doesn't give you too much time. There's a moment where it goes in crescendo for the character. And I wasn't afraid, but I had a good time. But nevertheless, I did feel a lot of fear in my body after shooting.
Hola.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations for the film. My first question is for Almudena. How do you feel? It's similar to the last few questions. How do you feel with this beginning of your career where you're presenting 2 films in San Sebastian? And for Paco, I didn't know about the COVID situation during the shoot of the film, which is something new in the creation of films. What was the process of the soundtrack? How did you find it? Because I think you nailed it, and I'd like to know how you went about that. I feel very, very well, marvelously well, and I feel very fortunate and very thankful to Paco, because when he gave me the opportunity, I had only hardly done 2 shorts. And for a director of his stature, gives you the idea of protagonizing a film, in a film of this nature. Well, infinite gratitude, yes, and I feel very, very thankful. The soundtrack, I had seen Apprentsaurrekoa, which is a French film. It's a great film that I like very much, especially, and I noticed the music. So therefore, when we were researching who could do the soundtrack, Fatima Al-Qadiri, which is a Kuwaiti musician who lived in Berlin, and now she lives in Los Angeles. So therefore, we thought we were very happy, because when Fatima accepted to do the music for us and we started to speak, so come to the shoot one day. When I'm editing, you can come to Spain. We'll spend a week looking at the film, talking about things. None of this took place. Fatima and myself, I'd never met in person. I've spoken to her over Zoom, over the computer for hours, and I discovered I spoke 3 hours and 45 minutes is how long a battery of an iPhone lasts in a continuous conversation. First of all, I put on the headphones that would wear out the battery, and then the telephone battery as well of the iPhone. She's a very conscientious person. She's a very hard worker who gave herself very generously, because she comes from a field of electronic music. Atlantique had been her first incursion into the world of film, and so she doesn't have a lot of experience with dialogue, with images. What she's got is great and spectacular talent, and she gave her 100% to the film. Things that I thought were okay, she continued going over them and over them. When I designed the sound, she proposed alternative melodies. So for working with her, I'm looking forward to meeting her, because it's been very good to work with her at a distance.
Buenos días.
Hi, good morning. I'd like to ask you, but what you were addressing in the film, one that drew my attention was that of getting older, how a 24-year-old model is already an elderly person. So therefore, what would you call it, whether it's a reflection or whether it's any critique to what happens in society, that is to say, how elderly people are put into one corner and we're slaves of beauty. We're always trying to get rid of the wrinkles on our faces. So therefore, did you share this with Carlos, or was there another idea behind this? The first time that I spoke with Enrique, when I told him that I want to make this film, my discourse was I want to make, the devil in this case is age, we're satanizing, we live in the passing of time and getting old and age, and we're glorifying always, excessively and constantly glorifying of values such as youth and beauty and joy, but that would be for another film. But I was very interested in how the aging, the horror, our own and somebody else's aging horrifies us. And I wanted that two-sided mirror in which a scene in which the character that Vera portrays sees in Almudena the youth that she had had, and Almudena sees in Vera the age, how that two-sided mirror, that was important to show that in that scene, because we put into one corner elderly people looking the other way at times, and in a certain way I think that's the heart of the film, to talk about this. And also I think that another thing I believe is life has changed us. The pandemic has changed our lives, the way of being in the world, the way we relate to each other. All we got to do is see each other. We've changed, we have changed. So therefore, the film was one way when we started to shoot it, and it's now a different film. So the fact that we're talking about a granddaughter looking after an older lady wasn't the same in 2019 than what it means now. There are ideas of how to promote the film and so on and so forth that were addressing irony. Well, how long has it been since you've seen your grandmother? Nowadays, it wouldn't be funny because of everything that we've lived through. So I think that the film has changed because the world has changed as well. And something that I would like to tell you, and it's going to be very brief, something that impressed me quite a lot when Enrique was talking about when we had to stop in the third or fourth week of shooting the film, the famous 13th of March, where we had to cancel all of the shoot. And Vera had to leave, and we didn't know what was going to happen, whether we could do the film again later on. So therefore, we remembered that uncertain period. So the world is coming to an end, what's going on? And Vera, before she left to for Paris, she said, I'll stay alive. And that, it might sound funny, it sounds funny to me, but it impressed me quite a lot, because it's not, she was saying something that was real. I said, I'll stay alive, because it's quite probable that quite not. And that impacted me quite a lot, and I would like to share that with you. Yes, it was quite an impact, I remember. We called her now and again on the phone to make sure she was still there, just to check. Well, I called her anyway. Hi, good morning. I would like to ask you, Paco, but also Carlos can answer as well. The last year, I'm under the impression that genre films are appearing in a lot of film festivals. How do you see this, or what's your take? There are films that flirt with genre, but I think a pure horror film, I think yours is present in a festival here in San Sebastian. Do you think that is that a reality, that festivals are opening themselves up to more to genre films? It's not only restricted to specific horror festivals? Or no, I'm not too sure. I think that traditionally a Class A festival is not the normal habitat for a horror film. But I'm not sure. But my feeling is one of thanks. That is to say, we feel very honored that they've considered that our film had the right values to be able to be in the competitive section in this film festival. And it's like being invited to a party that we weren't expecting to be invited to, and it's something great. It's not the real habitat that we would think for a film like ours. There is a certain trend now, and I think there's a certain current within the horror or genre film where is adjacent to signature or auteur films. The last 10 years, for example, this has been seen, and I hope that, for me, I hope they were all horror films. That's what I can say to you straight up. I think it's more psychological than it is a horror film. I think that also, excuse me, I invite myself to answer this question. I think the horror or genre films are capable of translating things that can't be told in another way. I think you create allegories and metaphors, and like Titan, for example, is not a genre film, but he used genre films, which is the the Golden Palma this year. Palm, the tree. That is to say, Paco says it wasn't the same that when it was designed or constructed or written by Carlos than now, I think, and this has a lot to do with it as well. I've seen another film that impressed me, which is Vortex by Gaspar Noel, and they both talk about AIDS, they talk about death, they talk about where we're going, what's our body about. They talk about putting in the corner those things that are, I'm going to say a tough word, but it's a word that I want to use, which is rotting away, which is the body, which is envelopes us and wraps us, and it's our skin. And I want to thank Paco. I know there's going to be a lot of controversy about this, so this is quite well, but this is a film, and it's not going to be neither better or worse than other films that are of any other genre. As simple as that. It might be controversial, what I've just said, however.
Buenos días.
Hi, good morning. I would like to could you talk about, there's an association between witchcraft and lesbian love, or homosexual love between women. Whether this is an issue, it seemed to me, or just seemed to me, or is it something that there's something there underlying to make this association between lesbian love y brujería? The fact is, obviously, they're witches, they're women, and they're going through time together. They are colleagues on the journey, but there was no intention of making an association of ideas. These are two people who are incarnated in female bodies that go through oceans of time, as was said in the past by someone. Okay, we're going to finish here, but there's time for a couple of questions. Hi again. I have curiosity about the beginning. In choosing the models, there's a character who's got a disfigured face, and that drew my attention. And I'm not too sure that it had to more. At the beginning of the script, that was more that person would play a more important role. But that character drew my attention. Well, he's a friend. His name is Mikkel. I've always fascinated by his aspect and his appearance, and I wanted to put him in the film. There's no back. He's just a colleague, a mate of mine, and I wanted to put him in the film. Simple as that. Nothing else can be read into it, really. Okay, next question. Hi. Once again, I'm going to ask you something which is more an anecdote than anything else. I want to talk about those nods to Madrid Caldwell, for example, Carlos directly. Whether it's simply a nod to him, or did it have any meaning in the script? You mean those perfume posters? The person in charge of this is not here. Who's Layateca? Who's the art director? I'm not too sure whether it's an issue, or you are responsible for it as well. Okay, but in no case I didn't put it in the script. Okay, Susana looks at a poster with a magical girl. No, that didn't happen. It was it's a tribute of theirs. Olaya says, come along, we've got a surprise for you. There's a party. And I came along one day. You were all very bored shooting. I said, where's the party? I said, look at the poster. I said, great. That sounds good. But there wasn't a party. I said, the poster was a gesture that Paco and Leia had for me, because we like your film very much. Yes, because, yeah. I didn't write it in the script. That would have been cool, though. And Susana looks at a poster. No, that didn't happen at all. Okay, unfortunately, we have to finish the press conference here. Big round of applause for this film. Thank you.